Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. It's Kumi's World in the Philippines. I really appreciate you guys for watching. If you haven't done already, please like, subscribe, click the bell button, and so forth. I'm still pretty new at this, so I'm not as fluent and saying all that stuff. So please bear with me. So I have quite a few questions that's been asked over and over again, and I answer every one of them as the best I could. So I thought I'd together a video in which I kind of put multiple questions into one single video, so that hopefully you guys can not ask me anymore. So anyways, some of the questions are these. So what size is my home? Well, quick story behind it is that my wife, was asked of her what size of home she wants. Well, we don't know, you know. So she says she wants a spacious home. So I threw out a number out there and I said 50 feet by 50 feet. Well, it turns out to be like 15 meters by 15 meters. And our architect, Gideon, he kind of like went from there. Now, let me give you a quick background first. We had an architect in Manila, and we did a 50 feet by 50 feet, and we didn't like the way it looked. It looked horrible. And at the same time, we say, okay, how much is this projected cost to complete only the cement part of it and the roof, obviously? Well, he said 6 million pesos. Well, 6 million pesos in US dollars is approximately, uh, what is it, $120,000? That's huge. Because we went out in town and we looked around and all these houses built for like 3 4 million pesos. And I mean, that's slightly over our budget, but still that's more reasonable than 6 million pesos. And we don't have tiles in there, we don't have windows in there, doors. So I think he was looking at us as rich foreigners, which we are absolutely not. We I retired early, and just couldn't stand working anymore with all the stresses and stuff with traffic and so forth in California. But anyhow, the money that we have is just personal savings. We didn't have a house to sell. We get the equity like two, three, $400,000. No, way less than that. But fortunately, I'm retired with Uncle Sam, and I have a okay pension. I'm not rich, I'm not poor, but I think some of these things that we have to finish our house in the future, which I'll talk about, we can finish a little at a time. I have all the time in the world. You know. Anyhow, so what size is our house? Well, like I said, it's 15 meters by 15 meters, or 50 feet by 50 feet, or 2,500 square feet. You know, I can't remember in square meter, but maybe 230 something. So anyhow, it's 3 bedrooms, one pretty good sized bedroom, which is the master bedroom, and a couple of guest room slash storage room. We didn't plan for any other storage inside the house. We'll plan for an outside the house if and when I have money to build something outside, like a wood shop or some kind of metal shop. I don't know. Foundation. Well, foundation. What happened is that we live on our property. It slopes down towards a fish pond a little bit. So either we dig it out and make it flat, okay? And here's like the hill here. The problem is we're gonna have water running down and start gonna dig in. It's going to start and dig underneath the foundation where we dug it out. So that's gonna be problematic. So if we decided to just build stuff from the top and then go flatten it out straight across, but then we're looking at in the back, we're probably looking at 10 feet of wall and trying to fill that in with dirt. It's hard enough to find dirt as it is, you know. So what we did is from the living room and the kitchen, we decided to make it 2 level. Our knees gonna hurt. No, we're not like having a huge flight of stairs going downstairs that will hurt our knees in the future. There's probably 3 or 4 steps, and I think that is reasonable. So anyway, it goes down 2.5, 3 feet or so. So anyhow, I think that's livable. And when we built that wraparound wall and start filling it with sand and all that, we just don't have to fill as much. And I can't imagine if we had to fill another 3 feet worth of sand and gravel and so forth. It was just way too much. So anyhow, that's basically how big it is. So on the foundation, what we did is that I wanted a plastic liner. Over here in the US, they usually put a plastic liner on there. Then they put some gravel. Then they're gonna put some wire mesh. Not, yeah, wire mesh and rebar, and they're gonna put. I think I mentioned the gravel, but anyhow, then you're gonna put cement on top. Then you smooth it out. Okay, of course you're gonna put your plumbing pipes in there and so forth. But we did it pretty much consistent with how somebody in the U.S. would do it. No, I'm not an expert. I had a lot of look a lot of the standard in U.S. by YouTube and some personal knowledge. Well, we did 4 inches of thickness of cement, plus, like I said, plus some gravel and, like I said, plastic liner. Why did we do plastic liner? Well, I'm hearing that through time, if you don't have a plastic liner, a couple things going to happen. The plastic liners can prevent the cement from absorbing the water from the ground on up. It can cause mildew, it can cause smell, it can cause your tiles to fail and so forth. Well, I didn't want any of that to happen. So we put a plastic liner, and where we got it? Well, we got it at City Hardware in the Philippines. It's about 80 pesos per meter roll. So I believe it's 1 meter by 6 feet. It's going to cost you, basically $1.70. So we got the whole entire roll, and believe it or not, 15 meter by 15 meter house, I think we end up like 6 feet left. And we also overhang it, overlap it by 6 inches or so. And we just use, common vinyl tape to put them together, close up the seam. Now, the plastic is probably about half the size that it should be compared to what you can get in US, but we're not in the US, so we can't get the same material. And, if it lasts me 20, 30 years, I'm okay with that, and I'll be dead by then. So it's not the same as over here, and it is what it is. It's better, like I said, it's better than nothing. you know so so anyhow, plastic liner and so forth. Now, how did we do the for example, we have the, how do you call that, we didn't have beams, we didn't have columns, but we had these, the, I guess you could say maybe the, to hold the foundation in, where we're wrapped around the foundation. So basically, it's just like making a beam, but you put it sideways. So we had an option. Either we created the foundation, then we'll drill through and put the rebar in, but that's hard because we're going to drill a lot of holes and slam in the rebar. So if you can imagine, I'm going to draw it out here. If you can see, this is looking at the beam going sideways, and this is, the rebar going around, and this is the rebar here. So I believe this is 6 millimeter, maybe a little thicker. But anyhow, you wrap around like this or so. Okay. So the way that we did it, or our contractor did it, is that he went ahead and put an L-shaped rebar on top. Now, he made the decision without me taking a look at it, but by the time they were halfway through, I wasn't about to tell him to, change it. But he welded this point here and welded this point here. If I would have done it, I would have done it, with the L bracket at the bottom here going across. Then I'll just use ties and weld if I have to, So anyway, so they alternated it. So some on the outside, some on the inside. I can't remember what's the distance between each L bracket, but I'm sure that when you contact the M2 people, they're going to tell you how far the distance across it, the distance between each bars. Okay, I mean, the more the merrier. If you have the money, you want to waste a bunch of money, fine. But there's certainly a minimum distance that you should do that. So another question I get is the cost of the panel. Well, the cost of the panel is, I tell everybody it's 560 pesos per square feet, roughly $11, $11.20. But the thing is, there's 4-inch panels and there's 3-inch panels. So we use the 4-inch panels for the exterior walls because it's going to support quite a bit of weight. So the interior panel supports a lot of weight as well, is 3 inches. Why we did that? We could have went 4 inches everywhere around, but the interior with the 4-inch plus another 3 inch of plastering or cement on there is quite thick. So 3 inches less. In reality, for insulation and noise, you really only need an inch or two, but we're looking at structural and so forth. But it's up to you guys, but I really do recommend what I did, which is 4 inch on the outside and 3 inches on the inside. And you can very well go with 2 inches inside, and that is okay. All right. Cost of the panel. So with our home, 15 meters by 15 meters plus the rooftop, we're using the same 4 inch panel. How much do we pay? Well, we paid approximately a little under 500,000 pesos, which is roughly 10,000 bucks. Now, I do have probably, I don't know, 7, 8, 9, 10 extra panels, maybe a couple of 4 inch, and the rest are 3 inch. I mean, our contractor was thinking maybe I wanted, some different type of balcony and so forth. Well, as you build, things change. I mean, it's like you come up with better ideas or maybe better cost saving ideas. But we decided to hold off, and what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to use a few panels for the top of the carport, or not. I might even use that to build a little structure to hold the to contain the water tank and the water pumps and so forth. So that's what I'm thinking at this time. But like I said, it's about 500,000 pesos or so, and the shipping. Well, the shipping, I'm pretty sure is a third party shipper, but the third party shipper, you figure they leave at midnight, 11 p.m. to midnight from Laguna / Manila, and they went all the way to Tarlac, which is approximately 3.5 hour drive, and we had 2 loads. So each load was roughly 28,000 ish. They arrived there at 7 in the morning. They will unload everything and they'll put it to where you want it. It is expensive, so it isn't. Both trucks was pretty full, and the first one was completely full. The second one was 3/4 full, but you get charged the same price. So it is what it is. Unless you can come up with your own truck, big truck, to try to save money, but I doubt it. Let's see, exterior walls, I mentioned that. So between the panels, okay, what happened is, before, there's panels that are straight like this, right, straight like this, side by side. Well, before, you had to put a wire mesh in between them, and then you're going to clamp all of them together. Well, now, let's say this is the end of the styrofoam, but then you got a little bit of metal mesh coming out only. And on the other panel, you have one that goes on the other side. So it kind of overlaps each other like this. Okay, then you staple them together. I mean, it's a fantastic idea. Now, there are other meshes that you get. Okay, is that where the here's the exterior walls, and here's the ceiling. Okay, then the mesh here, the right angle mesh, you can buy also from M2. Or you can go to the local hardware, and you can actually find some 2x2 2x2 wire mesh. The only problem is that the local place is gonna have these wire mesh, but they're not going to be galvanized steel, so they will rust. Does it really matter? Maybe not. I doubt it, because we actually used some of it when we ran out. We used it. Here's the picture of the wire mesh, if you can take a look. See that? That's the wire mesh I was talking about. So anyway, like I said, am I really worried about it? No, because it's just a wire mesh, and some of them you need for the, like I said, the angle like that. And on top of the roof that we have, the wall sticking up, we also did a wire mesh like this. Now, as you can see in the picture, it is flat. So they improvise. They put it on a piece of 2x4, and they start hammering it and creating 90 degrees to it. It didn't take that long, and it probably saved quite a bit of money and time. We don't need to order from M2 have them ship it all the way out. I think that was just totally unnecessary. So that's the key thing. You run a wire mesh, well, you can always get more from local hardware. Okay. How much do they cost? I believe, I want to say, I don't remember. Okay, I'm gonna guess maybe 1 meter by meter might cost you a couple hundred pesos. Okay, who knows? But it shouldn't cost you that much. It wasn't so much that it grabbed my attention, saying, "Gosh, you know." Some of the videos you've seen. Okay, so what we did is that for the rooftop was really scary. The rooftop. I mean, you see some of the videos, and we have we had the extra rebars up there because our contractor saying, "Hey, are you going to have parties up there?" It's like, no, I'm not going to have a party, but maybe we'll have 20 people at one time or another. So he just got worried, and he just put extra rebars up there. I slid in the wires for the Ethernet cord. I just slid it underneath the wire mesh, and I sent it to wherever I wanted. Just instead of trying to drill it here and there. But the rebar is pretty interesting. Now let's see if I can draw this out here. Give me a second here. So some of the pictures you're gonna see like on the walls before we put the ceiling on. You're gonna see like these rebars. It's like one line going now. Well, basically, let's say this is. Let me redraw that. Okay, so let's say this is the ceiling. Okay, so what we did is we sent a rebar going across. I believe it was a couple feet going. I'm sorry, couple feet going to this. Then we tie it to there, to the wire mesh on the panel. Then it sticks through the panel and goes down this way, flush with the panel. Then tie it there. So that way the strength. We also have wire mesh here too. But that rebar alone added some strength to the rooftop. Now, let me see if I can skip over here. So what happened is that I believe that if your rooftop, your ceiling, if you have a span that's about 16 feet, let's say 13 to 16 feet, you're gonna have a problem where, it may sag. Okay, and ours did sag, but I have an explanation for that. But what happens is that normally after, let's say 13 feet, you'll have a wall, and that's going to support that. But because our span is 17 feet long, it's a huge span. So every 6 feet or so, we went ahead and used a tubular metal. There's a tubular metal, which is a tubular 2x4, and what happens, we cut through, we cut the wire mesh, folded it up. We dug out the styrofoam, straight through digging it out. We put the tubular 2x4 in there. Then we basically stitched it back up with combination of the hog rings and the wire ties. We did that to all the long spans just in case. I'm sorry, as required, and some areas that we didn't need just in case. Okay, so that did it help? I'm pretty sure it did. But like I said, I have an explanation to why you did see some sagging later on. So, which is what I'm going to now. So I did not like the idea of mixing, a few liters or a few gallons of cement in the cement mixer, one bag mixer, plus the sand, and then aggregates, and put a pile of it onto the rooftop and covering the whole 2,500 square feet. That's a lot of labor. That's a lot of weight for people to pass one to another onto the rooftop. I thought that was pretty ridiculous. So we opt out for the cement truck and the cement pump. How much did that cost? I believe it was 16 yards of cement, and it cost us about 100,000 pesos or $2,000. Okay. So they arrived there. I think I showed a little bit of video, not too long, and there's a reason for that. So they arrived, get ready to pump, and they pumped. I was on top of the rooftop, and as the cement was going down, I noticed that I think they put like maybe 50% or more amount of quarter-inch aggregates in there. So it was going down onto the panels on top of the roof, and it was just bouncing up and down. It would try and move it around. It's like, wait a minute, this is not normal, you know, cement that you normally see on videos, TV, or even your driveway. So I was like freaking out, and I said to myself, you know what? They're working with it. I know it's a bad mix, but I can't stop it. You can't say no. You can't turn it down, and our contractor was just dealing with it. So as they were spraying it out, it looked like a playground of gravel, and I got stressed out, and I said, you know what? I got to get out of there. Whatever crap happens. I got to get out of there to reduce my anxiety, the stress, and I was afraid the whole roof was going to fall down and so forth. So, so after 3 days or so, I came back and I looked at the rooftop, and like I said, it looks like playground of gravel, lumpy, and everything else. Well, it hardened up already, and I look inside the my living room, bedroom, dining, and all that, and oh my gosh, it sagged. Well, the M2 people were telling us, put the ceiling jacks, basically ceiling jacks with, the tubular 2x4 and so forth, holding it up, and we tied it to the ceiling to hold it up. Now, it wouldn't, if we would have put the jacks less than, let's say, 6 feet apart, let's say every 3 feet or so, it wouldn't have sagged. But, the engineer says, oh, we put a standard amount, standard distance across, and it shouldn't be a problem. Well, I think normally it wouldn't have been a problem if the cement mix was on par to what it was supposed to be, but it wasn't. So at this point, it sags. It's pretty heavy. It's holding. When we took off the jacks 30 days later, after the curing of 28 days, for example, it didn't even sag 1 single centimeter. So got lucky. So here I am looking up at the ceiling, and I said to myself, "Oh gosh, I'm just looking at styrofoam, and what am I going to do for the ceilings? They're gonna, between each sag. How am I going to do that? Oh, between each sag, let's say like this. That means it's going to be like 3 inches of cement, then another inch over where, the bottom part of it. So after a month or two, just thinking about it, what we're going to do, I remember one of my wife's cousin in Manila. He's building his house, and we saw this beautiful looking wood-looking PVC panels. They're gonna. Well, I'm sorry. Let me back up. We were considering gypsum board, but I said gypsum board is pretty heavy. You know what I'm saying? And doing all the farrowing is what they call it when they create the framework where you screw it into. But gypsum board is pretty heavy, and if I have a future leak or something like that, it's gonna ruin a gypsum board in one spot or another, and I'm gonna have to replace 2 or 3 square feet at a time. So like I said, my wife's cousin was doing the PVC panels, and it looked beautiful. And when we went to Wilcon's a hardware store also, which is significantly better than City Hardware. Anyhow, we went there, and these long, I believe 10-inch by 8 or 10 feet of PVC panels. It was nice and light. It was beautiful. It joins together, overlapping. You screw it in or you rivet into the fairing. So we got an estimate of 2,500 square feet, a bit less, of about 103,000 pesos for the whole house, plus the fairing, which is the framework, plus the end pieces or the side pieces. So I think that's gonna reduce the amount of weight on the roof. Now, the roof, I'm still going to spray I'm on vacation right now, so they're doing it hopefully right now. So they're just gonna spray a single layer of cement on there, but they're not gonna pack, inch and a half of cement on there. And I just want to cover the styrofoam. Maybe a rat might go up there one day, which doubtful. But chew on it and the side of it. I just want to spray it, just to make it look better, and makes me feel better that it might be a little bit stronger at the bottom without adding the extra weight. So that's where we're at that right now. How tall is my ceiling? Well, from inside, the living room, dining room is 3.5 meters. So I believe the panel is actually 4 meters tall because we were looking at, the side of the house and so forth. So, inside is 3.5 meters or roughly 9-10 feet ceiling. You do higher than that, it's just going to add to your cooling cost for air conditioner. I didn't want one of those places where you have a huge vaulted ceiling, it's so high, it's so beautiful, etc. Well, it doesn't make any common sense. You're trying to cool the house. I'm a Western person, so we need our air conditioning, and we're willing to, pay the extra, but not a ridiculous amount. Let's see. So the spray. So here is the spray that I got. If you look at this right here, this is the ceiling spray that you can find on Lazada. Okay, it's about $23.9, so roughly almost $50 with shipping. You can buy these cheaper ones. There's one for the walls and there's one for the ceiling. Now, you can get the one that they sell in the U.S., designed by people in the U.S. Yeah, but you're gonna pay $200 to $400 for it. And some has a bigger nozzle and some smaller nozzle inside. Trust me, these things lasted my whole house, the one I showed you, with no major issues. Now, after you use it, you gotta dip it in water, spray, and make sure the nozzles are clean, or else the cement gets inside and it starts to harden up. Then you may have one out of the 4 sprayer not work. So it works just fine. Now, I admit one of the handles broke off because it's really cheap, thin metal. But I just took some sheet metal, galvanized sheet metal. I cut it, I drilled it, I banged it to make it look like a handle, and I believe that works fine as well. The compressor. Well, I had a dilemma with the compressor. You need minimum of 90 CFM of air, okay, working at the same time. Minimum. That's minimum. That means you spray a little bit, and maybe it'll come out okay. But reality, you probably need about 120, 130. So I could have bought a compressor at City Hardware for roughly, I believe, 38,000 pesos. But I saw in City Hardware it's 3-phase. Well, I don't have 3-phase around the house. So I start looking, and finding out how much it costs. Well, I found out a big compressor. Well, if I ever sell this compressor, if I ever rent to other people doing M2, well, I think if I get a 5.5, no, I'm sorry, let me read it. 5.5 horsepower and 200 liters. Well, it's a huge compressor. It's more than I need. Well, I figure it can keep its price more, in case I do sell it, or just simply because if you want to hook up 2 sprayers at the same time, you can. Now, these things retail at about 60,000 pesos. Now, you ask them for a discount, they say, "Oh, we can give 10% discount, which is 6,000 pesos, which still equates to 54,000 pesos." Well, I got a little trick for you. You call around to these hardware stores. Do they have it available? How much it costs? What's your best price? Well, they only can tell you certain things on paper. So if you kind of like call them up and say, "Hey, what's your rock bottom price?" Well, we got ours for 46,000 pesos. That's 10,000 pesos less than what they're authorized to give. So 46,000 pesos for a 5.5 horsepower versus, and this is a single phase, folks. This is single phase compressor, okay, versus 3-phase compressor, which is like 4 horsepower at City Hardware, and that was like 38,000. So just a few more thousand, you got something that's huge. Now with this thing here, you need a really good 50 amp breaker, okay, because it's pulling, I believe, about 48 amps. Okay, so that's something that you got to consider. The hose from the compressor to the sprayer, do not go less than half-inch inside diameter hose. Okay, don't use the 3/8 inch hose or 1/4 inch hose because you need that volume air going through. If you have the smaller hose, you're just limiting it. It's like putting a valve and turning it down. I would not recommend less than a half-inch hose. Another option is we have what you call if you notice on the video, we use these hog ring pliers. There's If you don't want to use the pneumatic one, you can use a manual one, but that means you got to squeeze it really tight, each one of them. And I know that whoever's doing it is going to get tired, and one could not be as tight as the other, for example, as you get fatigued. Now, these hog ring pliers you can buy in the US for $400 and some each, plus the rings, okay? Or you can buy them on Lazada. Lazada, I mean, they sell them. Let me get a picture here. So this is what they are, okay? So this cost me 9,000 pesos for the pneumatic pliers, okay? Now, each one of these rings that comes with it, it's a C-type ring, okay? Each comes with it. I mean, 1,000 of them, it's going to cost you about 1.7 pesos each, or roughly 1,700 pesos per. Now, if you're kind of confused on which rings to get, well, make sure it's C ring, and make sure that the rings can close down to about 3.8 millimeter. The reason that being because your M2 panel, specifically M2 panel, wire mesh, each wire is approximately 2.5 millimeter. So 2.5 millimeter by 2.5 millimeter is 5, and you're going to clinch it down to potentially, smaller than the wires. That means it's going to have a nice tight crimp to it. Now, if you can see, I taught them guys how to, once they crimp it, they're going like this with the pneumatic tool. Well, if you just crimp it and let go, it's kind of a loose fit. But for some, when you do this, it just grabs the wire and it just clinches down really, really tight. So, that's something I found out. I think I spent somewhere around 30,000 pesos, which is about $600 worth of hog ring clips. I ordered maybe 4,000 pieces at a time. I had it sent through Lazada. It's a lot better coming from the States, and these things are lifesavers in labor. Okay. Where did I buy the panels? Well, it's directly from the manufacturer. So the website is www.nextcenturybuild.com. NEXTCENTURY build.com. Or you can look on the internet. They'll have a telephone number. I usually tell people ask for Rosalind, because she's the first person I contacted there. She brought me to a construction site in Laguna, and I really appreciate for her help if she's watching this. Okay, so I usually stay faithful to the first person I spoke to, so that's just the way it is. But anybody can help you. But if you need to talk to engineers, you would talk to one of those sales rep. They'll guide you to engineers, and they give you recommendations. You submit your drawing, your architectural drawing to them. They'll tell you what panels, how many panels to get, how long to get, and so forth. And they'll put all your orders together, and what kind of supports that you need in order to stay safe, or just stay within the what do you call that, the structural requirement. Okay. So another thing is that my electrical, okay, I have somewhere around 53 plus electrical outlet. I think I spoke in my last video about grounding and so forth. You really need grounding, okay? And I just don't like the electrical plugs and outlets in the Philippines. I think it doesn't carry a huge amount of load when you're plugging things in. And I know that the stuff that I brought over here, yeah, it's made from China, but it's a bit better quality brand. My rule of thumb, it seems like the worst product that you can get in the US seems to be one of the better products in the Philippines. Yeah, it sucks, but it's the way it is, or that's my opinion. If you notice that I don't have electrical panels anywhere inside, well, electrical panel for me is going to be on the outside. I have somewhere around 18 breakers plus one for the potential generator for the switch, and also one for, maybe my future shop. um, for you Westerners like myself, the brand of breakers that you should get is probably GE or Snyder. If you try some of the other breakers that you find in the Philippines, oh gosh, just when you think you're tightened up on the wire here, and you come back a couple of days and it's loose. So you're running. It's just the most terrible thing I've ever seen in my life. So you should pay the extra money for better quality product, especially when it comes to wires. And also think the wires, okay? Do not buy the one that's made in the Philippines. I'm sorry to say that, but it's true. You buy a 5.5 millimeter wire, you take the sheath off, you look at the wire, and all of a sudden that 5.5 turns into 3.5. It sucks, you know. So we did have some theft that happened to our property and storage, and the funny thing is they stole all the cheap products that they stole the wires that we had intended to use for the air conditioners and all the wires that go into the outlet. We don't care about the lights. That's low voltage, but they stole all the cheap stuff. And my electrician and the contractor is kind of like wiping the sweat off the forehead. It's like, what they were worried about before, they're not worried about it anymore. So I went and bought some American. I'm not sure it's American made, but it says American wires. I'm gonna assume that it is American, but it's quite good quality wires, and it's gonna cost you, I believe, each roll of 5.5 millimeter and 3.5, roughly 4,600 pesos or 64. But basically, I had to buy another $400 plus of wires, the whole entire roll. It sucked, but it is what it is. Maybe it's a blessing in disguise, So my contractor. Well, here's my contractor's information number. His cellular phone number in the Philippines, and we are in Tarlac, okay, specifically Panicky Tarlac. So his name is Gideon Luzon, Gideon Luzong. His number is 963-213-8708. His email is G as in golf M Luzong Luzong at yahoo.com. Okay, he's a good man. He used to work in the Cayman Islands, and he worked with other EPS panel, the one that was the styrofoam. Here you pour cement on the inside, you got the wire mesh and more cement on the outside. But those are like buildings and so forth, big buildings, and it's going to cost you a lot more. Now, how much is all of this costing compared to hollow blocks? Well, first of all, hollow blocks in the Philippines, it sucks. You take two fingers and you can break it off. You're gonna see a lot of these people take trowels, and all they do is just tap on it a couple of times, or breaks. It sucks, but it is what it is. Sometimes people will make it to what people can afford. For people like me, where we can afford a bit more, use the M2 panel. So in comparison to the cost, well, it all depends. It's about the same price with the M2 panel and hollow blocks. Now the rest that you're playing with is labor. Well, I started numbering, the amount of days that we spent on it. I just got tired of it, and I can't keep track of it anymore. Now, one reason why I retired, because I can't keep track of things anymore. So anyway, it's a whole lot faster, okay? And I'm building during the rainy season, so that was another tough thing. But you figure we built 2 or 3 times faster than hollow blocks alone, okay? And the benefits of the panel as well, I'm right offhand. It's typhoon resistance, earthquake resistance, sound resistance, bulletproof resistance, insulative. That just right off the top of my head there, okay? And I got, before I came here, I knew there's going to be a problem with karaoke. I know there's a problem with spending tons of money on air conditioning, the sound, the rooster, the dogs barking. So that's why I kind of went with the M2 panel. Anyway, that's all I have for right now. For this video, I'm gonna turn around and make another video of all the things that I bought from Home Depot. This video is already 40 minutes or so, so I think I need a break in the video. Anyhow, there are some things that I just found that I couldn't get in the Philippines, or the quality is just too shabby. And Home Depot, yeah, I bought some Chinese product, well, made in China, but it's like I said, some of the worst thing you buy over here is probably the best that you can buy over the Philippines, you know unfortunately. So thanks for watching, and I'll be right back on my next video.